Guys, like I said, that's a big old spotted bass. That's the biggest spotted bass I've ever caught. He's good. He's probably 4 pounds. And my better hand, guys. Caught my first tagged fish. Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to Max River Fishing and Outdoors. Today I got something a little different, as the title says. It's about spotted bass, invasion of spotted bass, mainly Alabama bass. There's Alabama bass, Alabama spotted bass, and Kentucky spotted bass. I'm going to talk about the first part about them is how they get here, how the original ones get here. Spotted bass are native to a couple rivers, just a very few rivers that flow into Tennessee on the other side of the mountains in North Carolina. They're just in the North Carolina. Those are Kentucky spots. They're barely in North Carolina, but it's all rivers that flow west and end up into the Tennessee River in Tennessee. They aren't the problem. They're native to those rivers. 99.9% of the rest of the rivers don't have them, and none of the rivers that flow into the Atlantic Ocean have them. So now here we get, how did the first ones get here? The first ones got here in the Cape Fear River drainage. There's a long story behind this, but I'll try to make it quick. In the late 60s, the Wildlife Commission did a study of every creek, every river in the state, little bitty streams up to the huge ones, and put it in a book. And they narrowed each section down, told you how wide it was, how long it was, like from bridge to bridge, or bridge to this lake, and then that lake to the next bridge. And made a book on it. What was in there? What species? I've got the book. You can't find the book now. It's 2 books really about that thick. It's how I learned a lot about these creeks and rivers in North Carolina and fish and how to fish them. But anyway, they found out there was a shortage of game fish in 4 tributaries of the Cape Fear River, and this was in the late 60s. Mid to late 60s, they did these creel surveys and checked out all these streams. Well, they found out these 4 streams needed some type of game fish. Well, in 77 and 78, they stocked 310,000, yes, 310,000 Kentucky spotted bass in the Avens Creek, Parker's Creek, the lower Little River, and the upper Little River that feed the Cape Fear River below Buckhorn Dam. So 1978, they were done with that. They occupied those 4, took over those 4 tributaries, and then, of course, they got into the Cape Fear River, went down, and they went up to Buckhorn Dam. 1990 or so is when I started fishing the Cape Fear River down there a lot. I had fished it before, but I started fishing it a lot because I moved closer to it from where I lived before up on the Haw River. I was catching 90% largemouth, 10% spots in 1990. Catching some big largemouth in there too. Now, come 2000 to 2005, I'm catching 90% Kentucky spots to 10% largemouth. And the largemouth catch the size, bam. And I've got it in log books here in my room here where I used to keep extensive logs lists. So they took over the river. Largemouth population went pff, spotted bass population went boom. Kentucky spots. Okay, then what you got, somebody's been putting Alabama spots. I don't know if the Wildlife Commission did or not. Somebody put them in Carr Scott Reservoir in the Yadkin. Then they got in the Yadkin. Now I've caught spotted bass in there. Smallie fishing. Pretty abundant in there. Have they taken over the river? No. Unlike the Yadkin, it's kind of a semi-fast flowing river. I think the smallies, while they can't out-compete them, they can compete pretty decent with them. Like in the Dan River, they can compete decent with them. But the problem is in the Yadkin, when you get down to High Rock and then Tillery, you got the Uwharrie comes in. Now the Uwharrie is not a normal smallmouth bass river. They're not, smallies aren't even native to the Uwharrie. They were stocked by the Wildlife Commission in 2 creeks that feed it years ago. But the Uwharrie River is kind of unique in a Yadkin in that it's not a real fast flowing river. It's a Piedmont stream, even though it's coming out of the Uwharrie Mountains. The biggest Uwharrie Mountains only 1,100 foot tall. I fished it a lot. It's not a fast flowing stream, so the spots, it's a slow, medium moving river. I think the spots are gonna, once they get into the Uwharrie, that they can move all the way up to Uwharrie, all the way up to Asheboro's Dam. So they pretty much can take over the whole river. You might can kiss the Uwharrie population goodbye. Hasn't happened yet, but you might can kiss him goodbye. I think in the bigger, faster flowing rivers like the Dan, the upper Yadkin, the smallies can hang on, but you're getting a slow moving river like that, I think the smallies are going to be in trouble. Then somebody put spotted bass in Lake Norman in the Catawba. They've taken over Lake Norman. Largemouth only occupy 8% of the black bass species in Lake Norman now. We've taken it over. Lake Chattooga in North Carolina mountains. This is the problem. They really decimate the smallies. They hybridize with them. They outcompete them. So eventually there's no full-blooded smallies left. Lake Chattooga smallie fishery is poof, it's gone. Now what it is, and I'll put a map here. They've expanded because Alabama spotted bass were originally just in most of Alabama, 3/4 of Alabama, half of Alabama, but most of Alabama, a little bit in the northern Georgia. Then they got spread into South Carolina. They were in a little bit of Tennessee, but anyway, most of Georgia, northern Georgia. Then they got into South Carolina lakes, spread about anglers. Then they got into some North Carolina lakes. Well, now they've gotten to Philpott Reservoir in Virginia. Great smallie fishery. What's going to happen to that smallie fishery in the lake? Bam. Now I've fished the Flint River for shoal bass in Georgia too, and I've caught spots. They kill every spot down there they can because they'll hybridize with the shoal bass and wipe out the shoal bass. Now the shoal bass and smallies do have, I wouldn't say an advantage, but they don't wipe them out as bad in the river so far yet as they do the lakes. Shoal bass not a lake fish anyway, but the smallies are getting wiped out in the lakes. So you can kiss the Philpott fishery probably goodbye. They're in Martinsville Reservoir below it now. I've caught them in the Dan River because they've been in the Blues Lake for a while that feeds the Dan River. They're in Gaston Lake now. They catch more spots now than they do largemouth in Gaston. I've caught them in the Roanoke River. Now where we're getting to about the title of this is I fish a lot of rivers in eastern and central North Carolina. I've got one river that I love. It's right on the central eastern side. I've caught my first spotted bass there this year. They're Alabama spots. I caught a 4-pounder. Then I caught a bunch of 2 and 3 pounders. I posted it on the North American Fisheries Society Black Bass Conservation page on Facebook. I'll put a link to that in the description. A friend of mine, Steve Sammons, kind of runs that. Maybe some of the guys that help run it too. But if you want to post the identity of a fish on there, he'll answer you. He's an Auburn fisheries scientist, which I think is better than a biologist, but he is a biologist, I'm pretty sure. But I've fished with Steve down on the Flint River before. We have a mutual friend that has a place on the Flint River that lets us camp, and I know Steve's been down there with me one time before, but anyway, I know him. I've talked to him on Facebook a lot and everything. I posted these spotted bass on his page, said I caught them in a river, never caught them in before. Well, Steve gets in touch with me on Messenger and says, hey Mac, do you mind if I give your number to the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission about these spotted bass? I said, sure, I'll talk to them about it. Well, I mean, why not? So anyway, a couple of days later, Kirk Rundle, fisheries biologist with North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, calls me, asks me where I caught them. I tell him exactly where I caught them. He said they did extensive electroshock in there this past spring and springs before. They've never seen one in this area before. So these spotted bass I caught this year are the first spotted bass out of this section, which is not good news. What can we do about it? Now is the question. There's not a lot, probably. You can't kill them. I know down in the Flint River where we shoal bass fish, they have kayak canoe tournaments where they're kill spot tournaments, where they kill every spot, and there may be, I think they may get points for every spot you catch and kill. But anyway, I could be wrong on that, but I know they kill them. They kill every spot they catch down there. I fish with the guys and they get a spot that they make osprey bait out of it. They kill it, throw it in the water. It's osprey or eagle bait. What can we do about it here? It's probably not a lot. Leave your comments below. They're fun to catch, I'm not gonna lie. They'll hit anything. A small will hit, a largemouth will hit. They're aggressive, you know, but I don't like them taking over my largemouth fisheries. I don't like them taking over my smallmouth fisheries. But anyway, just have an open discussion with people. You need to tell your guys in bass boats are the ones moving these around now. It's not your wildlife commissions now. Back in the 70s when North Carolina put these in the Cape Fear drainage, they didn't know any better. I mean, you'd think they would have known better, but they didn't. Now they do. Now it's your bass boat guys, your tournament fishermen putting them in live wells, transporting them around. Go back to the Cape Fear. I've caught them above Buckhorn Dam now. Somebody's throwing some above Buckhorn Dam. So now they're in the Cape Fear above Buckhorn Dam and that small part of the haul and the deep river going up to the next dams. So anyway, leave your comments below. I'll quit rambling. What we can do, not do. Thanks for watching. If you catch some, let me know about it. Anyway, guys, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button. Get out there, catch some fish. Let me know if you catch spotted bass in places where you haven't caught them before. Subscribe button's going to be right there. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.